Right, we're joined live from Sydney by Ben Horne, cricket writer for Code Sports, to talk all things Ashes and all things Josh Hazlewood. Ben, that's a big miss to go along with Pat Cummins. I mean, I, Brendan Doggett and Michael Neser, they're not bad replacements, but they're not Josh Hazlewood.
No, that's exactly right, Manners. Yeah, look, it's hard to think of a bigger blow, really, for Australia on top of already missing Pat Cummins for at least the first test. I'd say possibly more. So to take out one of the other two of the big three is just a huge assignment for Australia to overcome, and it's foreign territory, really, because these guys have stayed fit for such a long time. They did have one test against England in the last Ashes in Adelaide where Hazelwood and Cummins were both missing. And to be fair, on that occasion, Neser and Jai Richardson, who was the other young bowler called up, did well. And look, Brennan Doggett couldn't be in better form. He's come off two matches in a row where he's taken 5 wicket hauls. He took a 5 wicket haul in the Shield final last year. But at Test level, he's an unknown, obviously. So it's a huge opportunity for England, I feel.
Yeah, I think it's important, Ben, that England, getting into this series, and even more important now because you'd think that Australia are now going to be stronger for the back half of the Ashes series as opposed to the front half. But if you get off to a good start, and I'm going back to 2005 here, like a lot of English players do, um, all of a sudden you run the risk of the Glenn McGrath moment at Old Trafford when he had to play because of what happened at Edgbaston. He wasn't fit, couldn't play at Trent Bridge, and the horse was bolted by the time the Oval come. Are these decision make are the decision makers ready for that sort of scenario? That if England, ideally from our point of view, get off to a good start, how calm do you think these Australian selectors are under pressure to make sure that you're not taking a
Hmm.
half fit Hazelwood Cummins into an emotional decision come the next test or the third test?
Yeah, it's a great point, Harmy. It'll be a big test of the selectors' medal because, yeah, my understanding of it is that I think Australia would really prefer to wait until the third test for Pat Cummins to come back. But, result in Perth could influence them to change their mind. So you're absolutely spot on. Um, Look, Josh Hazlewood, I guess I mean, we'll see what happens with that one. I mean, it sounds like a minor hamstring, given in the first place they didn't think anything was there at all. So we're still waiting to see what the timeline back is for him. But look, that is England's chances, if you as you've summarised it there. That if they can win in Perth, they can really create some chaos for Australia in the selection room, whether it be underperforming batsmen or, particularly with how they manage their fast bowlers. So it's a huge opportunity. And particularly, I mean, we haven't even got to the test yet. What if England are able to keep Australia out in the dirt for another couple of days in Perth and there's another bowler who pulls up sore? The bench is getting pretty thin for Australia then. So, yeah, there's a real opportunity for England if they're good enough to seize it. And yeah, I do think it could have a flow-on effect to the next test as well.
I wanted to ask you when the West Australian newspaper became a comic. Some of the back page stories have been infantile, really. I mean, not even. I mean, lacking the kind of wit and humour that we associate with banter. But while you think about that, what have you made? What have you made, and what's the general
Don't
feeling
worry, man,
about?
as it's not one of our newspapers, so that's fine.
Oh, okay, all right. Some of the back page stories have been incredible. But what have you made? What's the general feeling been about England's preparation? This one game against the Lions at Lilac Hill,
Yeah.
which bears very little resemblance, I think, to the Optus Stadium.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it doesn't seem adequate to me, but that's just what teams do these days, isn't it? I mean, Australia's the same. When they went over for the Test Championship final in England this year, they didn't do anything. They just, had a
They
few
played
days
golf in
training.
Scotland.
Yeah, and then had a few days training and straight into it. So it's just how modern cricket is these days, I suppose. And I mean, the teams, I guess, where the benefit is as you get later in the series that they're fresher and they're playing so much cricket that you don't want to extend these tours any longer than they need to be. But look, it'll be interesting. Australia got caught short last summer against India, where they were underprepared for the first test and it cost them. And I think even though Australia are injury affected, the players that will take the field are definitely better prepared than they were last summer. Most of them have played at least one or two Shield games. Most of them have found some level of form. Travis Head's a bit of a concern, but otherwise, most of them have got a bit of form under their belt. So I think Australia is reasonably well prepared aside from the injury situation. But yeah, England. Let's see. I suppose it'll be another test of the modern theory on how to prepare for series. But yeah, look, I mean the silliness in the West Australian. I mean, it becomes it becomes a little forced sometimes, doesn't it? But I think England are pretty prepared for it, and I've noticed they really haven't said too much at all. They're certainly not looking to fan the flames at this stage of the series.
Does it, again here, like two questions in one. Does it actually put pressure on the cricket journalists when the Western Australian non-cricketing journalists behave that way? Because you've then got to deal with the team for the next 6 or 7 weeks. That's, how can you sort of go up to sort of Ben Stokes and, ask him, serious questions when, a part of the Australian journalism pack have gone to town the way they've done.
Yeah, look, I guess I can't really throw stones, Army, because it is to a degree part of the fun and games of the Ashes, and that is sort of part of the newspaper game, especially when the Ashes rolls around. Yeah, look, I think, to be honest, I doubt it's having a huge effect on the England players at all. I think they'd probably be laughing it off like we are now, really. I mean, it's not the sort of stuff. Well, if you're getting offended by that, then I think you could have some bigger problems over the course of the series. So, yeah, look, I mean, yeah, I suppose being an Australian journalist, putting yourself in front of Ben Stokes, wouldn't be an easy assignment anyway. But yeah, look, I guess we'll carry on asking our questions, and he's always good for a quote. So hopefully that continues.
And you ask your questions. One of the big questions be asked will be from the Australian cricket team point of view is obviously this is not new for the team around Josh Hazlewood. He's missed quite a few home test matches in the recent past, and Australia have dealt without him. And like you say, the likes of Doggett and Nisa and Richardson, if he comes in eventually, Xavier Bartlett, they've been playing Shield cricket, but they've not been playing Ashes cricket, and that is a different story altogether. How will the Australian team, though? You've gone without Hazelwood in the past, but you haven't gone without Hazelwood and Cummins. That for me is I think a huge door open moment for England.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, look, it's just about, as I said, the worst case scenario for Australia to have two of those bowlers missing. I suppose an even worse scenario would have been if Hazelwood had taken the field and this had happened during the match, which is what has happened over a couple of last summers. So, I suppose there's the positive in that at least this has been picked up before the test and they can take 11 fit players onto the field. But yeah, look, it's a massive test. I think Brendan Doggett's the man who's going to get the nod. I'd be very surprised if he wasn't making his debut in Perth. And then I guess there's a lot of pressure then falling on the shoulders of Mitchell Starc and Scott Boland. And we've already heard from England, perhaps not the players taking the field, but certainly ex-players feel that Scott Boland could be someone who's targeted by England, given that's what happened on the Ashes in the UK 2 years ago. So I do think Scott Boland is, his record in Australia speaks for itself. I think he'll find his way. And India tried to attack him last summer as well with very mixed results. I mean, they might have got away with it for a period, but Scott Boland was never out of the game for long. So Mitchell Starc's been a very reliable force for Australia physically and also in terms of, his output with wickets. But he's got a huge responsibility on his shoulders now. He's the main strike weapon. And I guess Brendan Doggett really just has to go out there and do his thing, and hopefully the other two are taking that heat off him. But as for any player making their test debut, you never know till you're there whether you're up to it.
So just quickly, it's a straight swap then. dog it for Hazelwood. Not no question of restructuring with Webster and Green playing.
Yeah, Manners, look, I'd be very surprised. I mean, I guess you couldn't completely rule it out. I know there's some who have floated the idea of Australia going in without Nathan Lyon as well and picking the two all-rounders. But to me, that would be panic thinking for the first test of the series. Nathan Lyon has an excellent record in Perth. They've just got to make sure that the wicket makes the test go long enough for him to have an impact. But I think Michael Clark wrote in his column for us the other day that Nathan Lyon really is the biggest point of difference that Australia have. I mean, England don't have a recognised top line spinner, so if the conditions suit and the match goes long enough and all those sort of things, Nathan Lyon has the potential to have a big impact and be a big difference for Australia. So I'd be very surprised if he's not playing, and I'd be even more surprised if Australia's not playing three frontline quicks because Webster's not his bowling is very reliable, but I wouldn't say it's strike bowling. And Cameron Green, I think, is just too. He's come off too little bowling to be trying to get too many overs, expecting too many overs from him. So I think Australia will keep it pretty conventional for this test.
Is it 50-50 then? I'm assuming you, at a full strength Australian team, you would have had them strong favourites to win. Is it close to 50-50 in your mind now?
Yeah, I think it is, Manners. I mean, before Hazelwood went down, I did think Australia still with Hazelwood, Boland, and Stark had a bowling advantage there, particularly because we're hearing about Mark Wood's issues, which again don't seem serious, but for a guy who hasn't played in a match since February, I think any kind of niggle for him spells trouble for playing in the first test. So yeah, look, I did have Australia favourites. But yeah, I think it is getting closer to 50-50 now. I mean, we wait to see what the England attack is, but I think England definitely, at the very least, are going toe to toe with Australia from a batting point of view, if not have an advantage in the batting department. So, Australia was really relying on their bowling advantage, and that's obviously been cut away a little bit now, or a fair bit now with Hazelwood being out.